Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the African Reform Movement channel, where we talk all things Africa with an emphasis on Ghana. My name is Uche, and I'm going to be your host for today. And as ever, we have the esteemed Dr. Nii Amudako, who's going to be taking us through the different topics that he brings to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you've never been in touch with Dr. Nii before, or you wanted to know how to get in touch with him, Dr. Nii has a number of different social media platforms that he's on. So you can see them down there. He's on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you want to join us on YouTube, please make sure that you not only subscribe, but you hit the notification bell. So anytime we upload anything to the channel, you'll be made aware of it. And also just to let you know that all of these details are on his description box on his YouTube page. Okay, so if you don't get it now, it's not a problem. Also, just want to make sure that everybody sends all of their questions in whilst this live stream is happening. If you post any questions after the live stream has ended, unfortunately, we'll not be able to get to those to get them answered for you. So Dr. Nii is here so he can answer all of your questions in real time. So please do make sure you send any questions you have directly to this channel using the chat function. All of Dr. Nii's books can be purchased at his Book Nook store, and there's information there. You'll find on occasion that when he's speaking, he'll make reference to some of his books. This is where you can purchase the books that he's mentioning. Okay, so today, oops, sorry, got a lot of things happening here. Today, we have a very interesting topic. The topic is of coups, parliamentary, executive, constitutional, and military. So Dr. Nii, over to you. Take it away and talk us through what your thoughts are concerning these issues.
Thank you very much. Today is another day that we have to thank God for. It's opening a day for us. My day is ending here. You are also in the beginning part of the day. We give glory to Him. Now, this issue is very important because West Africa has been called, or used to be called, the coup belt.
Really?
Yes. The coup belt of the whole world. In the 60s and 70s, they staged coups in West Africa more than the whole of Africa put together.
Wow.
Okay. And gradually and hesitantly, we started moving towards anti-coup regimes, what some people call democracy. But it looks like things are going backwards. And we have to know why things are going backwards, whether they must go backwards or what we have to do. And that's why I'm talking today on the issue of coups. There are many types of coups, okay? People should not be fixated only on military takeovers. There are many types of coups. And one coup may necessitate another coup. It's as simple as that. That's the fundamental philosophy. If you stage a coup will stage against you. Okay? If you stage a coup and you believe in that idea, then you mustn't be surprised if someone stages a coup against you. Those who live by the sword will die by the sword. Okay. So what are the types of coups? Please, first slide.
Okay.
Of coup d'etat, we have parliamentary, executive, constitutional, and military. So what is a coup d'etat? Next slide, please. Coup d'etat is a French phrase which is blow of state. You blow up the state. Okay? But in our normal understanding, is seizure of government and its powers by 1, a political faction, 2, a dictator, or 3, the military. And these are the 3 orchestrators of coups. And these are the ones I described earlier on as parliamentary, executive, constitutional, and military. So next slide, please. We'll start with the political faction. Political faction, we have 2 types of coups staged by political factions: military, parliamentary, and executive. Next slide, please. Example of parliamentary coups. The number 1, the coup capital of the Western world, Australia, my beloved country. Number 1 is the coup capital of the world. From 2010 to 2021, 11 years, we have had 6 prime ministers.
Wow.
Yeah, not a single prime minister has served out his full 3-year term. Not one.
Wow, why is that?
Yes, that's what they call parliamentary coup. And when you have a mechanism like that, you're right, there'll be no need for military intervention. Because in Australia, it's a classical Westminster system where the people actually do not vote for a prime minister. They vote for parties. And the party with the largest MPs, or the party with the majority of MPs, form the government, and the leader of that party becomes the prime minister. So the people actually do not directly vote for the prime minister. They vote for parties, and the majority party in parliament, the leader of the majority party in parliament, becomes the prime minister. Now, the leader of the parliament, the leader of the party, is not elected by the party as a whole. It's only elected or chosen by the parliamentary party, by the MPs in parliament. So you have 150 seats in Australia. A party gets 76 seats, and the leader of that party, chosen by the MPs, becomes the prime minister. Now, for the 3-year term, we always have weekly, fortnightly, monthly opinion polls, monitor the performance of the prime minister. If the prime minister consistently is losing the opinion polls, and the backbench, except those in marginal seats, believe that if this prime minister takes them to next elections, they are going to lose their seats, they will say a coup against him. In the sense that if a member of parliament is bold enough to challenge the prime minister for the leadership of the party and he wins, the new leader becomes the new prime minister. So in Australia, you can go to bed today with Mr. A as the prime minister and wake up tomorrow with Mr. B as the new prime minister. If he's able to challenge the prime minister as the leader of the party, and if he wins as the new leader of the party, he becomes a new prime minister. The following day, the governor general will swear him to office and will form his government. As simple as that. Government is gone. So there's oh yeah, it happens all that. Look, 2 weeks ago, in my state of Victoria, the leader of the opposition was challenged by one of his own shadow ministry, and he lost. So now the leader of the opposition in Victoria is a new person, and he's going to take the party to the next elections. If he wins, he becomes the premier of Victoria. Simple. They say it could hear all the time.
But to me, that makes the country, doesn't that make the country very unstable? I mean, for the people,
very stable. Very, very stable.
I'm saying unstable. Does it not make the country unstable?
No, it doesn't. That's a mechanism. They are in parliament. Okay, so you go to parliament, you have to perform. If you are losing opinion polls and the party believes that if you take them to the next election, they are going to lose, they got to change you to brighten their chances. And the same party is in power. A new prime minister comes, he forms a new government, and you go. No problem. We've had 6 prime ministers in 11 years. So that's how it works. So the military has no role in governance. There's a system, there's a mechanism to change the government if the government is not performing. Next slide.
But sorry, does that not say something about how, I don't want to say incompetent, but ineffective the governments are? They can be taken over that easily. Does it not say something about their lack of competence, their lack of ability to see through how to fulfill their presidency properly?
It doesn't, because anybody, you see, this is not the classical Westminster. For instance, Theresa May organized elections. She won the elections. Down the line, she said she stepped down. People went to sleep. Theresa May was the prime minister. The following day, it was Boris Johnson. Now, if somebody tomorrow decides that Boris Johnson is not doing well, or the opinion poll shows that Boris Johnson is losing, is not making headway in the opinion polls, somebody in the party, in the Conservative Party, can challenge Boris Johnson. If he becomes the leader, he becomes the new prime minister tomorrow.
Yeah, we tend not to
Margaret
do that.
Margaret Thatcher was there for about 13 years or something like that. Nobody could challenge her because she was winning all the opinion polls. She was winning all the elections. Over here, John Howard was prime minister for 11 years. After John Howard left, you have had 6 prime ministers. He was there, nobody could win because he was winning he was making sure that his party was winning. So they had a mechanism. What it means is that people are not doing what they should be doing the way that people want them to do.
Okay.
But there's a mechanism in place that forbids military intervention because the people know how to change their prime ministers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So the next one, the previous slide, please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let's get one.
Executive. Now, South Africa is my other country. I lived and worked there for 5 years. And I went there at the beginning of the new system. I went in 1995 and I left there 2000. I saw it all. Now, South Africa was helped very much by international mediators to write its constitution, which is dubbed the most progressive in the world. Now, the key features here is that I call the South African system presidential Westminster. I call Australia and UK classical Westminster. In South Africa, again, the people actually do not vote for the president. So people did not actually vote for Mandela as president. The people voted for ANC as the party. Okay. And then the party with majority in parliament, the president of that party becomes the president of the state. So Mandela became president because he was president of ANC. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
So that is a Westminster feature, except that in South Africa, the president is not part of parliament. Once he's elected as president, he ceases to be a member of parliament, and the president is represented in parliament by his deputy president. So the whole cabinet, including the deputy president, are members of parliament, which is a Westminster system. Okay, like in UK, all the ministers are members of parliament. In Australia, all the ministers are members of parliament. In South Africa, all the ministers plus the deputy president are members of parliament, except the president. Now, what this means is this: unlike Australia or UK, where the members of parliament elect the leader of the party, in South Africa, it is the party that elects its president. So actually, the parliament cannot fire the president, like it happens in Australia or it happens in the UK. If the president has to go, then it's the National Executive Committee. It's the party itself that will recall the president. And for interesting for people to know, most people don't know that Mandela stepped down after one term. Thabo Mbeki was recalled before he ended his second term. The party recalled Thabo Mbeki. They thought it was a disgrace to the party, so they removed him as president. So there's a mechanism in South Africa to remove president without military intervention. Jacob Zuma too was recalled by the party executive. So whereas in Australia, it is the members of parliament that can change the prime minister, in South Africa is the National Executive Committee. Now, those who have read the Constitution of the African Reform Movement will know that I borrow heavily from the South African structure. All right, that will be a lot of detail to talk about, but I borrow heavily from the South African. There are a few differences here and there, but I borrow heavily from the South African. Now, those who have read the Fifth Republic will also know that I copied a fair bit from the South African system, because that's a system that was crafted by the best brains in the world. What I've done is to improve upon that one. And if you understand governance structure, you know that I made a bit of important changes to the South African system. But South Africa also has a mechanism to removing the president.
Okay.
It's in the constitution. So that's the executive coup. The National Executive Committee of the ruling party can recall the president. So there is no need for military intervention. Okay, the next one. That's the constitutional coup or the coups of dictators. These are coups made by incumbent presidents. They change the constitution to perpetuate their state. They change the constitution to deny or to betray the trust the people put in them and electing them. And the typical examples are Ghana and Guinea. We all know what's happening or what happened in Guinea in the last few weeks. Okay, that Alpha Conde changed the constitution and he held a fraudulent referendum, which he won by 89.76%. So let's say he won by 90%. Okay, and that brought in a new constitution that technically he could run for 2 more terms. Because in the new constitution, he brought in the 2-term limit by saying that because it's a new constitution, he's now starting afresh. So his 3rd term actually is the first term of the new constitution. So potentially, he could go for a 2nd term. At which stage, he would have been 87 years. He could have run again if he wanted for a 2nd term under a new constitution. Obviously, he betrayed the people putting him in giving the mandate 10 years ago or 11 years ago, I think 2010. He changed the constitution, and this is how dictators do it. They stage constitutional coups to perpetuate themselves in power. Now, when you stage one coup, you make another coup inevitable. You make another coup legal. Because you have used your power to reserve more power unto yourself. The only person who benefited from the constitutional change of last year was Alpha Conde. After the elections, 32 people were killed. Before the elections, I think 12 people also were killed. At least 44 people were killed in a democracy. He was overthrown few weeks ago, and not one single person died. So which one is more violent? Which one is more violent? The stupid ECOWAS people who wanted to go and give that thing, they must think. Nana Akufo-Addo, the 12 or whatever of ECOWAS, in the last elections in Ghana, 9 people died. In Mamadi Doumbouya's coup, nobody died. So which is more violent? Unless the 9 Ghanaians who died do not matter. All right. So now this is Guinea. All right. Now, mind you, in Alpha Conde's parliament of 114 members, 79 were his party members. He rigged that elections too. Okay. 79 were his members, and that is more than 2/3. So he held more than 2/3 in parliament that he could actually change the constitution again. Because he had more than 2/3, but he had more than 2/3 majority. Okay, so he actually changed the constitution and he created a stage that he could change it again if needs be. He had to go. All right, he had to go. His constitutional coup necessitated another coup. We'll talk about it next. Now, what happened in Ghana? In 1957, Ghana became a sovereign dominion in the British Commonwealth with a classical Westminster system of government, a prime minister and all ministers in parliament. In 1960, Nkrumah changed it with a referendum which was very similar to Alpha Conde's one. Nkrumah got 89 point something, almost 90%. Alpha Conde also got almost 90%. Then Nkrumah became a president without a vice. He took all power. And he said that the new constitution, there will be presidential and general elections every 5 years. Okay, so Ghana was supposed to have elections again in 1965. But what happened? The biggest coup ever happened in 1964 when Nkrumah threw away his own constitution and brought in a one-party state constitution. And he held a referendum, the biggest rig in the history of the world up to today. And the referendum he held, the results were 99.91%. Okay, people don't know. Nkrumah held a referendum in 1964 for his one-party state, and he got 99.91%. The base of the opposition, which is Ashanti, retained 0 for no. Every single person in Ashanti voted for one-party state. It was a laughable thing. Ghana became the laughing stock of the world. Now, those who don't know must know. Okay? And yes, when it got to 1965, for the elections to be held based on 1960 constitution, there was no election because Nkrumah made his party the only party in Ghana. So, Guinea of 2021 actually, under Alpha Conde, was better than Ghana 1966 under Kwame Nkrumah. Now, what happened in January 1965? Nkrumah at independence, our number of parliamentarians was 104. In 1965 January, Nkrumah almost doubled that number to 198. Or I think 95 or 96%. He increased it, almost doubled it to 198. And you know what happened? He appointed every single one of them. The parliament that was overthrown was illegal. Nobody voted for them. Nkrumah appointed them. Then do you know what happened? Then the parliament that he appointed lifted up their hands to elect him as president. So nobody voted for him in 1965. Now, when you stage such a coup, you make another coup inevitable. There was no mechanism like we have in Australia or in South Africa to change the president. He dubbed himself, he was made president for life for my country. I mean, when you say it, people will say you don't like Nkrumah, but I'm not manufacturing the facts. These are the facts. This man never paid tax before he came to Ghana. He's never worked in his life before. All of a sudden, he's the only one who could govern Ghana for life. Now, Alpha Conde changed the constitution when he was 82. So even if he wanted to run a second term in the new constitution, he wait 7, he will die soon.
Yeah.
Okay? But Nkrumah made himself president for life when he was 55. He could have run for 40 years. If he wasn't overthrown. So I say it all the time. I'm saying it again today. I fully support the overthrow of Nkrumah because if I was then in Ghana old enough to take up arms, I would have. Nobody can tell me he's a president for life for my country. Nobody. Now, whether those who have come after the coup have done well or not is a secondary matter. We can talk about that later on. But at that point in time, when there was no mechanism to change a leader, coup was inevitable.
Yeah.
When somebody changes a constitution to perpetuate himself in power, coup is inevitable.
That makes sense.
If for any reason Nana Akufo-Addo decides that we're going to do something to make himself stay in power, I will leave this country, go to Ghana and stage a coup. So that's what we have to understand. When the president changes the constitution, stage the constitutional coup, when a dictator changes the constitution to perpetuate himself in power, there will be another coup. And that one will be military coup. It's as simple as that. If you don't want military coup, then you got to be careful. Now, when they're writing this new constitution we have in Ghana now, Article 3.1, Article 3 Clause 1, they say that, what did they even say there? What did they say there? Let me see whether, okay. Defense of the Constitution. Parliament shall have no power to enact a law establishing a one-party state. So, Nkrumah Ghana was proscribed. because it was illegal. What he did was wrong. Article 3, Clause 1 says that Parliament shall have no power to enact a law establishing a one-party state. One-party state is wrong. Simple as that. But you see, even Alpha Conde did not establish a one-party state. So he was better than what we had in Ghana. It's as simple as that.
Can I just ask, what was the purpose of only having a one-party state? Why would he not allow any other groups to kind of potentially challenge him, basically? What was that about?
Because at that point, by 1962, he had made himself president for life already. And the only way you can ensure that he remains president for life is that there should be no competitor. Otherwise, how can you say you're president for life? If you could be challenged and you could lose. Because he believed that he was the only person to be able to run the country. I'm not in his head to think of anything, but in his own autobiography, he described himself as a non-denominational Christian and a Marxist socialist. So he was a Marxist. He was a communist. At that time in the history, communism and one-party states are the same, two sides of the same coin. Okay, if you are a communist, they must govern one-party state. They must be, the party is supreme. So that's the ideological base. Okay, no other reason. That's the ideological base. But the Marxist social, that's what he wrote himself in his autobiography. I'm not saying that. So that's the ideological basis of creating a one-party state. But once you do that within the confines of a democracy, and there was no way of changing you, you have to be overthrown.
Yeah, because this one thing, like, could he not see that? Could he not see it?
People believe that. I mean, now here is a visionary whose people, his letter commission or whatever told him that, oh no, boss, you won 99.91%, and he believed it. I mean, long before Saddam Hussein had the market with their 98 and 99%, he did long ago, the first time ever in the history of the world, for a party, for something like that, 99.91. Meanwhile, in 1954 and 1956, when we held elections under the British, Nkrumah got 55% of the vote and 57% of the vote. All of a sudden, it's got 99.91%. Is that not a disgrace? Is that not a disgrace? Is that not a disgrace? When he believed that. Obviously, something was wrong somewhere. And he believed that actually it was possible then for everybody in Ashanti to vote for him, not one single vote against him. It's never happened before. He believed that. So we are talking of two different realities, you know, somebody living somewhere else in the air somewhere, and normal human beings living on the ground. He believed that. I don't know what to say, but I believe that. And he went ahead to establish a one-party parliament where he appointed everybody. When Ghana was bankrupt, that 200 million pounds in our reserves have dissipated. We had zero. He almost doubled our parliamentary size and appointed all of them. Because there was so much pressure in his party, he had to give job to their boys. This is the Ghana he created. And these are the facts. There is nothing I've said here which is my creation. Let's move to the next slide.
Okay.
Military. Like I've said before, when a constitutional government decides to stage a constitutional coup to block all avenues and to perpetuate himself in power, the logical conclusion is that somebody will have to kick his ass off. And the military is the only institution that has that capacity. And whenever a leader makes that inevitable, it means it will happen. And if I'm in a country like that, I will stage the coup. You see, we don't respect the Constitution because those in power now, I'm telling you, they have not even read it. They don't care. Because, you know, I wrote this at, I think, early part of 2015. In our Constitution, I think it's Article 35, or somewhere, I've forgotten whatever it is, but somewhere in chapter 5 or chapter 6 of our constitution, I think, I've forgotten where it is, where it says that appointment to public institutions should be regionally and should be proportional in terms of regions and gender. Okay, so when you're appointing people, you must make sure that there is regional balance, there is gender balance into public institutions. And our former president, John Mahama, I remember he appointed 4 people to the University of Ghana Council, to the Council of the University of Ghana. Now, the 4 people he appointed, okay, the 4 people he appointed to my alma mater, to my university, in my city of Accra. He appointed 3 of the 4 from his part of the country, from the northern part of the country. Okay, he appointed 75% of the 4 from his part of the country, and he appointed 1 person, a Reverend Minister, Bishop, what's the name, Duncan Williams, who comes from somewhere in central region in southern part of Ghana. So now the population of the north at that time was 17% of the total population of Ghana. So 17% was represented by 75, and 83% was represented by 25. Okay, this is flagrant abuse of the constitutional provision to have regional balance in public appointments. Okay, and I wrote about it seriously, that if I had the time, I would have gone to Ghana, I would have challenged the appointment in the Supreme Court, and if the Supreme Court says, whatever, he can do whatever he likes, I could have staged a coup when cite this example that he broke the constitution. And I'm defending the constitution because this is what the constitution says, and he blew it up, and I'm overthrowing because of that. We got to be serious so that idiots will not just come and do whatever they like, because that puts everybody at risk. Then the soldiers enter, then everything goes back. But we could have corrected these stupid mistakes. The same John Mahama, we have some 3 journalists or whatever they call themselves. They were on air threatening and insulting Supreme Court judges to the point that one of them said you could even rape the Chief Justice. Yes, and these guys were cited for contempt of court and imprisoned, and John Mahama used his presidential prerogative to pardon them. He actually broke the independence, the separation of powers. He actually undermined judiciary decision and pardoned them. If I were in Ghana, I had the means, I could have overthrown him because I'm defending the constitution. He had no business doing that. So defending the constitution is not only about crime when soldiers intervene, but it's also you have to defend the constitution against civilian morons. And that's where we are going to get to, because this madness must stop. This insanity must stop. 82-year-old man change the constitution to stay in power forever. What for? You know what I'm saying? And these things we do, this is the build-up. People feel fairly unfairly treated. People feel abused. And when others come in to correct it, you say, no, they cannot intervene. What do they cannot intervene? What do you mean they cannot intervene? Do the right thing. We don't want the coups. We want coups. But neither do we want constitutional coups. Neither do we want constitutional abuse. By anybody. Because if you do that, you'll be chased out. Chakumanyaba.
There's one more, Dr. Nii.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This is not going to be easy. Way forward. All right. So now we have a system in Australia and in South Africa, mechanisms to change the president or the prime minister if he is misbehaving or she is misbehaving. Okay. We don't have that system in our constitution. There's no mechanism. So if we have an idiot who is misbehaving, then we have to wait for 4 years to destroy the country before he can have a vote. And he could rig the elections. And there's nothing you can do because he appoints the Electoral Commission. He actually appoints the Electoral Commission. So then we are staffed. Now, what's the way forward? Now, this is what I have written in my books. Not all my books. It's in democracy. It's in fair state charter, and it's in the Fifth Republic, but to different degrees and to different depths. Corporate governance and split executive. Okay, I'll make it short because I didn't know that there was other slide there. Sorry. Corporate governance basically is to have a structure of a board of governance and the executive itself. So you have the board of governance in general corporate system being a chairman of the board, and you have the CEO as head of the executive. Now the CEO himself or herself is a member of the board of governance. Okay, so you have a board of governance, the chairman, and then you have members of the board, including the CEO, who then leaves the board and goes to implement the decision of the board with the executive team at the workplace. And that's why I come in with the split executive. That you have a president who is elected and a prime minister and a cabinet that he appoints. Okay. What that means that the president is the chairman of the board. The bat stops on his desk. Mm-hmm. But then you have a CEO who is the prime minister, who works with the other executives for the day-to-day running of the company. It's a bit more detailed. Now, I sent an article recently, and one of my friends, Rashid, said, Nii, what's the point of a president? There's a prime minister. Why is this? I said, there's a big difference. The president is the head of state, and the prime minister is the head of government. Okay. Now, there's a big difference. And I started I said, look, we had a similar system in Ghana under the military rule of J.J. Rawlings. Rawlings had the PNDC, which is the council, and they also had the committee of secretaries, which was the cabinet. And the head of the cabinet, P.V. Obeng, was also a member of the PNDC. So the PNDC was the policy body, and the committee of secretaries is the implementation body. So P.V. Obeng was the liaison officer between the committee of secretaries and the policy makers, with the council itself. And that's why whatever people can say, Rawlings' military rule was not a typical military rule. He had a committee of secretaries, which is cabinet, which was actually civilians all over. People he felt he could work with. But their leader was not him. Their leader was Mr. P.V. Obeng, who was our de facto prime minister. And that's what we should actually have carried into the constitution. And then it was changed and made a vice president because we copy blindly, because we always copy stupidly. Recently, 3-4 days ago, the former chief of staff of Kufuor, after being in government for 8 years, after being out of government for almost 12 years, now has come back to say that he actually believes that we should have a president and a prime minister. Elected president. Obviously, he has read something I've written, or he has heard something I've seen. I have seen something I've written or something like that. A president who is the head of state and a prime minister who is the head of government, because really the vice president role is useless. It has no function. What the president wants to give him to do is what he does. He actually has no constitutional mandate. I said, stupid. You've been there for how many years? When did you realize this? You came there, it was good for you, you did whatever you want. Now, after all these years, you are coming back and you will say, oh, credit to Dr. Nii, our brother in Australia. He has been preaching this for the past 21 years. Now they are seeing their light. What you have there is useless. Absolutely useless. So the way forward now, what this means is this. What I have here is a modification of the South African system. So we have a government that's made of the prime minister and his ministers, where I have 25 ministers, 5 of whom will be senior ministers. So the president, the prime minister, and the 5 senior ministers, they will form the board. And then they would come back to their fellow ordinary ministers, sector ministers, with the decision of the board and how to implement them. What it means that this government, led by the prime minister, will be answerable to parliament. They will go to parliament every Friday for question time. And they have to answer to the representatives of the people what they have done in power for the week and what they are going to do. And that's the way accountability, as we have in Ghana now, there's no accountability. The government doesn't answer, the executive doesn't answer to the legislature. No accountability. People can do whatever they like. And there's no mechanism to change the government. So under this condition, the president can actually dissolve the government if the government is misbehaving and change the whole government. The president has got that power in the system that I'm proposing. Just like the chairman of the board can sack the CEO and they can sack the whole executive and appoint new ones. The president has got that power to change the government. We have to have a mechanism to change government without the interference or intervention by the military. But if you close all avenues and people are misbehaving like we are doing in Ghana now, then military intervention is inevitable. They can cry to return blow. It will happen if you continue to misbehave. The way forward is to change the whole framework of government to make sure that accountability, and we have to have a system where you are doing intensive polling, opinion polls, to know where government is failing, so that people will be able to respond. Government will be able to look, we are failing here, we have to respond. Now, if it continues, there is no improvement, the president can sack the whole government.
All right.
Yeah. So that's the way forward of coups, parliamentary, executive, constitutional, and military. These are all is a spectrum. And the way to avoid these is good governance.
Yeah.
Like I said, Margaret Thatcher was there for almost 13 years. John was there for 11 years, and nothing happened. But when you do not govern well, things will happen. Those in West Africa, the morons in West Africa, like Ouattara and those who have changed their conscience to keep themselves in power, they must know that military takeovers can come. And when they come, they are justified because they have staged a constitutional coup in the first place. And when you stage one coup, another coup is permissible. All those shouting every 6 months, those are all moronic rants. You know what I'm saying? Only morons do that. There's something they can do to Mamadi Jomboya. He's not going to have it over in 6 months. He's not going to hand over in a year. He will hand over when he believes that the ground is level, the field is level, and they can have good, and they have to find a mechanism of only allow people who have brains to contest. Okay? Everybody can participate in democracy, but not everybody can lead in democracy. Okay? Even in primary schools, not everybody is a prefect. Even in primary schools. It's not a democratic right to be a leader. Nobody has that right. It's your right to vote. And we must make sure we have a mechanism that morons do not get inside into the leadership. And if Mamadi wants to know how to do that, he should come to me. He should just bring $5 million. I'll teach him how to do that. To make sure that idiots do not get into power again. All right. So the way forward is corporate governance with a split executive system, a president as elected head of state, and a prime minister and a cabinet as appointed members responsible to parliament. Responsible to parliament. So we have a bit of Westminster there, and we have a bit of presidential system there. If the government made up of the head of the prime minister and his ministers cannot perform, the government can be dissolved, anyone can be formed.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Nii. I hope those of you watching got a lot out of that. So let me see. Let's go directly to the questions here. Okay. It's just mainly comments, not so much questions. Shika says, so it's mainly comments that people have made. Shika said, let's hope our leaders will not tamper with the constitution to remain in power.
Well, if they do that, we'll overthrow them. If they do that, we'll overthrow them.
Okay. Let's see here. LOL, defend the constitution against civilian morons, indeed.
Yes. It's our duty. You see, when somebody comes there and the person decides to flout the provisions of the constitution, both the spirit and the letter, it has to be overthrown.
Yeah.
It has to be punished.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for the military to do anything. You cannot sit in Ghana and when you are asked to, as president, to appoint 4 members to the university council, our premier university, when the constitution says that there must be regional balance and gender balance, then you decide that you take 75% of your nominees from your hometown, where you form only 17% of the population. What kind of madness is that? And this boy going around saying he wants to contest again. We should just wait until 2024. It's going to be a different story.
Amen. Hubert Bailey said this is a £1 million consultation that you're giving here.
Yeah, no discount. 1 million flat.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw.
Sorry, Doctor. It's a B.A. Boateng said, Doctor, when I heard Kojo, I can't say his surname, say that, you came to mind.
Yeah, I'm the author of the Fifth Republic. There's nothing they can do about that. They've never thought about that before. Mm-hmm. And he was using my words that elected president and an appointed prime minister. Where did he get that from? He was the chief of staff for a president for the whole 8 years or whatever. And he's been in the wilderness since then. All of a sudden, he's got on the road to Damascus epiphany. Oh no, the vice president is wrong because there is no, he doesn't have any job to do in the constitution. I've argued all in our democracy, in Free State Charter, and in the Fifth Republic why we do not need a vice president. So I'm sure he's bought it. It's not expensive, $5 somewhere in Ghana. He's reading to, who is this boy? Where was he all these years? I mean, we committed this country to these jokers.
I've just seen like there's quite a few. Let me just quickly breeze through them. The ones that you want to answer, please feel free to go ahead. Ebenezer says, I'm particularly interested in becoming a serial coup maker like JJ and getting a fantabulous state burial by my most vocal opponent.
Yeah. Because you see, they thank Jerry Rawlings because they all know that the 1992 Constitution was written for Rawlings. Okay. And, because of that, they came to inherit Rawlings' Japadier, Rawlings' property. And they're just abusing us because that 1992 Constitution actually establishes constitutional dictatorship. Okay. Yeah. It was clear that it was meant to make sure that Rawlings was happy to put down his military uniform to become a civilian. So they made it for him, and all these guys after him have come to enjoy it. They have not changed. As a matter of fact, Rawlings was the only person who least abused the Constitution. People will decide whether they like it or not. Rawlings governed with 68 ministers. Now, these 68 ministers included 20, which were regional ministers and deputy regional ministers. So actually, for his ministers properly, there were only 48.
Yeah.
48. Now we are having about 130 ministers. We are having about 130, almost double what Rawlings governed with. He didn't abuse the constitution because the constitution did not actually put any number of, did not put a limit on the on ministers. But Rawlings put the limit in his head. He least abused it. Today, look at what you are doing. Because there was no limit, they are appointing girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, what. They are just everybody. As a minister or a deputy minister. So yes, they have to thank Rawlings for giving them this opportunity. It's abusing us.
Yeah. So a couple more here. Sheikah said, interesting point about Australia being the coup capital of the world. Of course, I never thought of it that way. I was surprised that he said that. Well, I hadn't heard that. I never considered that.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm telling tomorrow we can have a new prime minister tomorrow.
Yeah. I never heard of that.
But there's a mechanism.
Yeah. Another one. Ghana, Guinea, and Mali seem to follow each other's political trajectory. Mali and Guinea have seen coups, and people are nervous the trend will extend to Ghana.
Well, if you see the fundamental of science is cause and effect. Okay. Science is built on 2 pillars: observation and 2, cause and effect. When the cause is the same, the effect will be the same. And that's what Einstein said that Einstein put in a more poetic fashion when he said that If you do the same thing and you expect different results, that's what you call insanity. Because science tells him that if you do the same thing, the results will be the same. If the cause remain the same, the effect will be the same. If Ghana does what Mali and Guinea have done, the effect will be the same. They will be cool. That's simple. Okay? If the cause remains the same, the effect will never change. If you do the same thing and expect a different result, then you are a moron. You are a fool. You are insane. So Ghana shouldn't be anxious. There's no need for anxiety. Do the right thing, and there'll be no coup. You do what Guinea is doing, or Guinea did, or you do what Mali did. You get what Mali got, or what Guinea got. It's as simple as that. No need for anxiety.
Okay, someone's answered Shika's question here, but I'll put it up and I'll put the response to it immediately after. Shika said, let's hope our leaders will not tamper with the constitution to remain in power. And then Ebenezer responded, until we have a fair state charter for a constitution, they don't even need to tamper with our current constitution. They can just take turns in doing it unto us.
That's it.
Yeah.
Questions, please. Questions. I have too much energy.
There were just comments, Dr. Nii. There wasn't any questions.
No, people should ask me questions about how I think my speech executive will work. They should challenge me.
Okay, you heard Dr. Nii. Did anybody want to challenge Dr. Nii about that particular point? Have any thoughts about it?
If they want to know more how the South African system works, because if anybody has read the ARM Constitution in the Whip North Africa, we know that I actually borrowed heavily from the ANC or the South African state, because I know the whole world descended on South Africa, the whole Western world, because they wanted to craft a constitution that would be fair to everybody. It's a very, very good constitution. What people do not understand is that that's the reason why only in South Africa an African ex-president can be put in jail. You have the power of the judiciary.
Sorry, what?
That's why it is only in South Africa that a former African president can be put into jail, like Jacob Zuma, because he has no control over the judiciary. He has no control over the judiciary.
Right. Okay.
Because it was a very well-crafted constitution. The whole world was there. They sat down and said, look, this we do in Britain, it hasn't worked well for us. This doesn't work well in America. Let's how we can do. I'm telling you, it's a very good constitution. And I was lucky to go there at the time it was coming up. It was being, discussed, reframed, being rewritten, and all those things. So I learned a lot. Anybody who takes ARM Constitution to read, anybody who takes the Fifth Republic to read will know that, and understand South Africa will know that there's a fair bit of South Africa there. I've improved on a few things, except, for instance, the way they elect people to Parliament. Okay. Now they themselves know that there are problems with that, and I've corrected it and updated it in the Fifth Republic. Okay, so we are talking of the most progressive constitution ever on this planet Earth when we come to power.
And so from what you've seen, obviously, like you've looked at the Australian constitution, you've looked at the South African constitution, you look at the way they run their systems, and you mix the two together, you believe that is the best and strongest way to now govern Ghana. That's the way for Ghana.
What people do not understand is this. In another country, like UAE, UAE, for instance, is also a federal system. But it's what I call hybrid federalism or confluent federalism. All right, you'll find it in the book. That's my description. All right. Now, in the UAE, they have 7 emirates or 7 states, which are federal. Each one has got its own sultan or emir or leader. But the largest emirate is Abu Dhabi. Okay? And the president of the leader of Abu Dhabi is the president of the whole federation. Okay, that's why it's hybrid. Okay, I'll explain a little bit. That's why it's hybrid. The president or the leader of the largest emirate or the largest state is the president of the whole federation. The leader of the second largest emirate, that is Dubai, is the vice president of the whole federation and also its prime minister. So the emir of Dubai is the emir of a state. Like in Australia, we call it the premier of the state. But at the same time, is also the vice president and prime minister of the whole country. So that's why it's hybrid, because in Australia, there's no merging between states and the national government. Nobody can be leader of a state and also a leader in the national government. It's completely separate. It's a very, very clear-cut federalism. Okay, the premier of my state cannot. New South Wales is the largest state. Victoria is the second largest state. If this country were UAE, then the leader of New South Wales will also be our prime minister, will also be our leader. And then the leader of the second state will be the deputy prime minister. But that's not the way it works here. Every state is independent. There's no hybridization. But that's UAE. UAE is hybrid. Now, what I'm doing in Ghana, I can't stand the hybrid system. Okay? I can't stand the hybrid system. So in Ghana, we're going to have ECOFAS states, and each premier is for the state, and we're going to have a national government to be led by an elected president and appointed prime minister. Separation completely, like in Australia. But unlike Australia, where our president is a ceremonial queen in England, here in Ghana, the president will be elected and he will appoint the government, which will be led by the prime minister.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And again, UAE, the example of UAE in Ghana is Ashanti. You see? In Ashanti, yes, I wrote a book, I wrote an article on that. Ashanti in the desert. UAE. Ashanti obviously copied Ashanti. UAE obviously copied Ashanti because in Ashanti is also a hybrid federal system. The Asante Hini is also the Kumasi Hini. Okay. So the head of the largest state in Ashanti, which is Kumasi, is also the head of the whole federation. And the deputy head of the whole federation, which is the Mamponhini, is also the head of the second largest state. So when you put in context, Abu Dhabi is Kumasi and Mampong is Dubai. So the head of Abu Dhabi is also the head of the federation, which in this case is the Asantini. The Kumasi Hini is also the Asantini and head of the whole federation. And Mampong Hini, the second state, is also the deputy to the Asantini, the deputy to the whole state. So Ashanti is a hybrid, just like UAE. But what I'm proposing, no hybridization. The states are independent from the national government.
Okay. Okay. Well, no one has any more questions, Dr. Nii. There's just one final comment from Boateng. Can this show be ad sponsored? This rich content must reach millions. Well, thank you for that. It's something we can consider.
Yeah, please. You know what? Yeah, the other thing is this. I've created a new news portal, Sankofa Africa. SankofaAfrica.com. Sankofa, the Africa is spelled with K. So Sankofa Africa, and this will be there. So you can go there and then get your friends to go there and watch and listen and do whatever. You see all my things there. My articles will be there. SankofaAfrica.com.
Sankofa.
All right, so Professor Boateng, yeah, you can go there, direct your friends there, let them watch and let them hear what you are talking about. Okay, so that Ghana needs education. Ghana needs education about governance. Okay, if me, a medical doctor, can understand it, then everybody can understand it because I'm not a political scientist. I'm not a lawyer. I couldn't have gone into that. The qualifications are too much for me. I'm just a poor ordinary doctor. If I can understand, anybody can understand because I explained this to my grandmother before she died and she understood. She never sat in class 1. So go there, read, share, let people know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. People like Benin are now coming back. they are now converting. We are changing them into real Ghanaians, you know. So the time is coming. sankofaafrica.com. Go there. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. We will meet next weekend.
Okay. Thank you once again, Dr. Nii, for your fantastic presentation. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your comments. We'll be back here again next week, Saturday, 12 noon GMT, 11 o'clock Ghanaian time, and then just adjust the times for wherever you're located so you can tune in.
Yesterday I went to work with my cooling high, and then I was going to do a video consulting, and then because I'm on that side of the river in New South Wales, and my base in Victoria, and I had to speak to some patient in Victoria. So the one of the patients said, "Oh, is that me? You look a bit different." I said, "Oh no, it's because of my." "Oh yeah, I can see you wearing your cap." I said, "Because it's cold. I'm not prepared to do anything. I want to wear it anyway." So we'll meet next weekend. All right. So when you see me in my cap, I'm not being anything more than protecting my head, my little head. Too cold.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Nii. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. And we'll see you again next week. Take care then. Bye-bye.
Bye.